Welcome back to America Decides. Latino voters moved toward President-elect Trump in this year's election, an unexpected shift for that voting bloc that many in the political world are still trying to comprehend. A new article in The New Yorker, aptly titled "Understanding Latino Support for Donald Trump," offers a potential explanation. Its writer joins us now. Geraldo Cadava is a professor of history and Latina and Latino studies for Northwestern University, and he is a contributing writer at The New Yorker. Professor, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Professor, in your piece, you write, quote, "If we learn anything between now and the next election, it should be that there is no prescribed path for Latinos." This statement essentially summarizes how you see the Latino vote. Can you dig a little bit deeper into what you're talking about and what you've assessed?
Sure. I think for the past couple of election cycles, I think we've been greeted by surprise at the fact that a significant share of Latinos have supported Republicans. And the only reason we've been surprised is because we've been, conditioned to expect that the overwhelming number of Latinos, percentage of Latinos, is going to vote for the Democratic candidate. And I think it's time that we just kind of abandon that assumption and almost start from scratch and understand Latinos as a swing vote that all candidates are going to have to fight for from now until 2026 in the midterms and 2028 in the next presidential election.
You also write about how some in the political world are looking at the Latinos somewhat shifting towards President-elect Trump. And you write, quote, "It is absolutely, let's look at the quote here, absolutely possible for Latinos to understand racism and still vote for a racist candidate whom they think rightly or wrongly will help them prosper." Explain what you meant by that conclusion.
Yeah, right after the election, many commentators started heaping blame upon Latinos. African-American commentators, for example, were saying, like, Black voters, we did our job, but Latinos failed to do theirs. I'm paraphrasing what they said. And I think that that's just the wrong way to look at it, because there's this debate emerged about how could so many Latinos, knowing everything we know about Donald Trump and what he has said about immigrants in particular, how could they possibly support this candidate? And I think that is really just the wrong way to think about it, because voters are complicated, and to support someone who you think will be better for your pocketbook in the bottom line does not necessarily mean that you don't understand that they can be racist at the same time. I think they're making very complicated decisions about what to prioritize. And I think it doesn't require you to deny racism in order to support someone who you think will be better for you and your family economically.
What about the influence of your late grandfather and how his example has helped inform your own perspective?
Yeah, I think he's someone that I grew up alongside, arguing about politics. He and I disagreed all the time, and he would tell me about his experience of discrimination, both in the military when he served in the Air Force, and he was repeatedly passed over for promotions. And then he continued to experience racism after the military when he worked in a copper mine and washing dishes at a country club in Arizona. And it's not that he, and it's important to note that he voted for every Republican presidential candidate from Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump. And I think he is kind of the basis of so much of my thinking about how complicated Latino conservatives are. And I think the benefit of him being my grandfather and me being able to spend hours as a child by his bedside listening to the stories he told is that I was never inclined to automatically demonize people who had political beliefs that were different than my own. And I could hear him tell his stories about what he believed in, why he felt the way that he did. And he never denied racism. He never bought into these other theories about what Latinos who voted for conservatives wanted. Many will say that they aspire to be white or something like that, or they've bought into the misogyny and racism of the Republican Party. And I don't think that's the case with him. I think he had a pretty clear-eyed understanding of all of those things at the same time that he was a Republican, because first, Ronald Reagan promised to put money back into his paycheck in the form of tax cuts, but then just thought over time, his views became increasingly conservative, where he bought kind of wholesale all positions of the Republican Party when it came to patriotism, social welfare reform, and immigration restrictions.
Professor Geraldo Cadava, really appreciate you stopping by and having this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.